Good afternoon, everybody. It's just now 2 o'clock. Well, a couple minutes after 2 o'clock here on the 15th of March, 2026, and it is Sunday. I love Sundays, as I always say. And yeah, I got to go jogging this morning, and it was very good. I didn't have to wait for lights. So I had to announce that. That's very important. Okay, what's going on in the news? You know, the one thing that I'm actually looking at all this time, and I'm sure the rest of you guys are to a large extent as well, is looking at all these propaganda. It's like propaganda techniques of Pete Hegseth primarily, and Donald Trump, and of course the others go right along with that too. And I'm not talking about this. What is this thing that they were saying in oh, cat over there. What is this? Short-term pain for long-term gain. I guess that's what all the news channels are saying. That, you know, it's really weird. They put out these talking points, and I guess everybody is supposed to parrot. They're supposed to be like parrots and do exactly what the administration says. I don't know who's the one that first put that out. Was it Carolyn Levitt or Donald Trump or all of them? I don't know. Oh yeah, it's but they all think. They just all suddenly came up with the same thoughts with the exact words. But this has been going on for over a decade. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump. I don't know. It's a regular thing. I think it was going definitely back in the Biden days as well. Okay, but Pete Hegseth, what was he saying? You don't really have to take a class on propaganda to watch these people. And it's not that you necessarily have to know the names of these things like gaslighting and projection. It's mostly a lot of projection these people are using. But I thought I would just talk about that today too, because it's all really interesting. They have this spaghetti effect. I think it's like throwing a whole bunch of lies and things up on against the wall, you know, like spaghetti. I remember home ec class back in high school. I did that. I had a home ec with two girls. I had groups of three, and we made spaghetti once, and I kind of threw it and stuck in somebody's hair. It was like, oh crap, those girls were laughing their heads off. But you know, when you throw it on the wall, I guess it sticks on the wall or something as well. And I guess that's what they mean by the spaghetti effect. And thinking something sticks, and then everybody starts buying into it. And so fake news, that's mostly what the whole objective is of all of this stuff, to make people believe things that are not true. It's like shaping your minds. It's psyops. It's definitely a psychological operation. And so let's get onto what these guys are actually saying. This is just part of this. I'm going to be talking about other things too, so you have to hang on if you want more about the news events that come on. But this is also has to do a lot with the news events. You hear these people, Pete Hegseth, you know, he's finding himself to be like some sort of an expert. He's calling the Iranian leadership rats, and like a bunch of rats, they're going into their caves or something. You know, that kind of worked with who was that guy in Iran? Not Osama, Saddam Hussein. You know, good damn insane, I guess we used to call him in the army. And you know, we bought into all that stuff because I was in the military back in those days. And I think he really did go into a hole. He went to hide somewhere. So that one actually turned out to be true. But it's not the case now. And Khamenei was not in a hole. He refused to do that, and that's one reason why he's killed. And of course, the United States was doing negotiations with Iran at the time, and they just thought, well, let's just kill this guy now in a surprise attack. And things didn't go the way they thought it would, as you all are watching right now. But you know, that's I guess the definition of a coward, of a cowardly act. You know, going after an 86-year-old man who's not hiding anywhere at all. And of course, that's one of the objectives right now of Pete Hegseth, is to do another cowardly attack by saying, oh, these guys are going into hiding. And they're not going into hiding. The ones that are going into hiding are the Israelis. You know, the United States has nothing to fear because, like Donald Trump says, we got a big, beautiful ocean. And yeah, if there wasn't an ocean, you know, Donald Trump would be hiding. As a matter of fact, I've been to some of these hiding places. I've told you guys before. There's one in by Pirmasens in Germany. It's not that far from Ramstein Air Base, or not far from the French border. And it's like, oh, you see this, you drive on these windy small roads. I can't see how they get these big trucks there, and to unload all the stuff in there. I wasn't even allowed to get, I think within, how close was I? I think it was maybe 50 meters. And I was not allowed to get even closer to that. I guess you have to have a really special security clearance. Even I had top secret, still was not allowed to go there. I think, I don't know. I don't know what is the next security clearance after that. They got, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them. So, but it's right into a big, huge rock. I've talked about that before. It's, I think this one like Cheyenne Mountain or something in Colorado. That's the big hole that the United States president is going to climb into if there's a war going on. Oh, I gotta go hide. But look at the Iran. How do they call them cowards or rats when they're exactly the opposite? So much of this propaganda stuff, like Donald Trump saying, oh, their genetics, they have inferior genetics. He just said that a couple of days ago. But, well, well, how does that compare with your genetics, Donald Trump? You're going to go hide somewhere, just like all, our Americans all together, What he's alluding at is, it's what I'm just saying is propaganda, and there's different names for all of this, like gaslighting and things like that. So, let's see. While old Hegseth said that, I think even before he said that, the president of Iran was walking the streets and shaking hands with people and all that. And there was other ones that as a matter of fact, the counterpart to Hegseth, which is Larijani, I guess, he was on the streets doing the same thing. He's meeting the people, and some people recorded it with a cell phone and they put it on the internet, that these Iranian leaders will do that. Donald Trump doesn't do that. People will probably kill him. There's a lot of people that want to get rid of him. Oh, but the people in Iran, they hate their leaders. Well, it doesn't really look like that now, does it? So, as I'm saying, it's all propaganda. And some of these names of this propaganda, I didn't know this stuff myself, but I looked it up, and I'll tell you guys. Maybe you'll remember it a lot better than I did. But but this is a very, you can call it gaslighting. Generally speaking, gaslighting. Gaslighting is like a huge lie. It's a huge lie using different outlets and things to try to make you believe something is true that is not true. And at the same time, it's also projection, as you know, accusing your opponent or enemy of exactly what you yourself are guilty of. So that, so they're a bunch of cowards, and, striking a bunch of little girls in a school, and even in a surprise attack. I mean, it's like, and then they say that we don't target civilians, the Iranians target civilians. Well, how come the facts show completely the opposite? Oh, can you say projection? Yeah. So, and not alone, and a double tap after fake negotiations. Doesn't it make you proud to be an American? When somebody else explains it to you a little bit differently instead of these guys. I mean, it's like that's what they're paid for. That's what the news is paid for, to get up and lie to you. That's why they get $1 million salaries, on the news networks and things like that, because they can lie to you. They figure out a way to make it sound like, so you can feel good about your government being a bunch of coward, wimpy, panty asses and stuff. So, okay. So they killed the 86-year-old man and his family, as well as the new leader, who is his son. They killed his wife. And, of course, they killed a lot of their family anyway. So, and he was, I guess, injured. But apparently, and I tell you what, I would, Arghachi, the guy, the foreign minister of Iran, I would, obviously, I'd believe him 100 times more than I would believe anybody in the United States government, because it's very obvious. And I think American people, at least most of the people watching this show, you're getting lied to. You're getting lies and lies and lies and lies. I don't even know if they're capable of ever telling the truth. Makes you wonder. They probably don't even tell you the truth on what they had for lunch. I don't know. Oh, no, but don't worry, they don't target civilians. Oh, little girls of 14 years old, Donald Trump. Oh, I did nothing wrong. Yeah, right. My nose is starting to run. I never carry a handkerchief. It's a little bit cold, as you see. We still have snow on the ground. I think it's supposed to be maybe 4 degrees or something at least. I'm doing fine. Not that cold at all, really, except for my nose. What's up, guy? I don't think he speaks English. Her, guy, whatever. So. Freezing. Okay, so it's good to get out again. So, okay. Yeah, so I told you about all these guys that they killed, these brave warriors that sit behind a desk. How brave they are to go killing children and 86-year-old men like Higgs. Hoorah! I don't know. And Donald Trump. Well, I'll talk about that too. I wrote that down. He said that they're 100% destroyed. All these guys, I tell you. Let me keep going with this other thing. I'd love to change topics all the time. Yeah, but he says the new leader is badly injured and probably disfigured, which apparently there's no truth to that. I don't know. They didn't say anything about disfigured or anything, but they said he's in fine health and is carrying out his duties. That's what the foreign minister of Iran said. Okay. And if their intelligence is so good that they know this about the leader, well, what happened to their intelligence when they bombed and killed 171 elementary school girls? We don't target civilians. Well, it looks like they do. How many apartment buildings have they hit? Well, what is it? The Israelis, they say the same thing. And they're killing thousands of people in Lebanon. But by now, everybody should know that is exactly what the Israelis love. They love killing innocent people. If they kill children, they are the happiest people on earth. They love killing children. They have come right out and said it. If you talk to some of the lower, ranked people and stuff, as a matter of fact, even the upper ranked people like this, who is this guy that he might be dead, Ben-Gvir or whatever? He basically said that they love killing children. Because these children will grow up to be terrorists. That's what they say. So they love killing children. So talk about children. Look at this guy here. Got himself a little scooter. I don't know. Where's his parents at? Maybe he's a stray. Maybe I could take him home like I do from cats. Are you a stray? Anyway, let's keep going. You guys don't want to look at kids, do you? Or cats? Cute little kid. Okay, so they're great intelligence. And as a matter of fact, they bombed hospitals and things like that as well. I think they hit 9 elementary schools. These brave people that don't target civilians. And I think I saw some figure, 287 children the United States and Israel have killed so far. And there's, of course, a lot of them are injured. I don't even know if that even counts the one. It can't. I mean, because look at the big whopping number they killed in that one girl's school. And they've killed a lot of them since, and they've showed photographs and things like that. But of course, nobody beats the Israelis when it comes to killing children. The baby killers. Maybe they should just call their government the baby killers instead of the Israelis. The land of baby killers. Maybe that's what they should call the Israelis. Doesn't it make you proud if you want to be an Israeli and you can go out and kill children and stick bullets right in their foreheads and in their chest? I mean, hundreds of photos from that, from Doctors Without Borders, come from Sweden and America and everywhere else. And these people are just shaking their heads, you know how terrible this is. Oh no, but they don't target civilians. How many? You've seen videos. I won't even get into it. So, and I was going to talk even about, even in U.S. military manuals, they tell you how to create chaos in society. And, it's like putting up snipers, and shooting like into crowds and things like that. And that's happened. You had the DC sniper. I remember, I think it was a guy and his son. Unfortunately, they were black guys too, and his son. Maybe they had a gripe, I guess. Maybe they were. I don't know if they're shooting just white people and something like that. Maybe they were riled up by the Democrats or something. I think it was even during Obama's time, and they were sitting and picking off people. But then you have the Blackwater people. They did that for fun. They did it. They even did it in the United States. They were killing people. Shooting through their windshields, like where the driver's at. And unfortunately, they made a video, but They're sitting in there. They didn't show their faces and stuff. They had the back of a van opened up, and they're playing what is it, Mystery Train by Elvis Presley. Train I ride, and they're sitting there and shooting through the windshield and watching the cars crash after they shoot the person in the face. And that, that's, and believe it or not, that's a Christian group. Eric Prince was the guy in charge of that one. But they did a lot of that in Iraq and things like that too, in case you guys didn't know this stuff. Oh, but they don't target civilians. But it's like a private military organization of the United States. It's kind of strange. Wagner never did that. But the United States, they were called Blackwater back in those days. And then they changed their name because of all the crap they've gotten into and killing people, innocent people so much. These are all people that were former military, and they got in and thought they'd be cool and show how big a men they were, and killing innocent people, unarmed, of course. So anyway, in these United States military manuals, they tell you, about striking civilians and then how it demoralizes. I've mentioned that, so it makes me sick. That's why I got to keep telling this to you guys. And demoralizes the enemy. Navy SEALs training manuals clearly state how to do that. And there was a person, he used to be a wrestler at one time. He was also the governor of Minnesota. I don't find him a bad guy at all. He was a Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL, as all. Jesse Ventura, you probably have all heard of him. You look him up on the internet, he's all over the place. And he said that too, that because he was a Navy SEAL, he said, yeah, that's all you got to do. And he says that that's in the manuals too. You just got to get a sniper and position them somewhere and start picking off a few people, and then that, So if he says that, I've told you guys that, we don't target civilians. No. That's what Iran does. It's always the enemy. Oh, the enemy does that. We don't do that. We're the good guys after all. Until you find out the opposite. What about all those tortures? And they showed, somebody released all that stuff. Abu Ghraib and all these places, all kinds of real nasty stuff. Another cute kid. Okay, it's Sunday in Belarus. Families go out. It's a little cold for most people. Okay, Navy SEALs. But hey, wasn't that the Maidan? What happened there? And I've mentioned it before. I don't want to get too much into it. A lot of them were Polish snipers killing people to make it look like that the government was doing it. This was an operation by the United States, and it's a known fact that it was. And then Victoria Nuland was there passing out cookies, and the Soros, the Soros they had offices up there. They shared basically the same bathroom, with the down the hall with the Soros people, and you're sitting there telling George Soros not to shake it more than twice because you're playing with it, things like that. How that it was. I don't know if George Soros, he was there, but that was one of his projects. One of his biggest ones. He's really going after Hungary. He's going after Hungary big time right now. Orban has been coming out, and Zelensky, of course, obviously he's working for the Soros people. They cut off the gas, and look at Donald Trump, who's now the big king of the deep state. And he's not telling Zelensky to turn that gas back on for the Druzhba pipeline for Slovakia and for Hungary. And it's kind of getting sort of desperate. And Orban, he said, we are not going to bow. We're not going to become a colony of Ukraine. And wow, they're really doing some stuff. And along with that, the leader of Serbia, he said, I'll talk about him a little because I got the list of the 3 countries. There's like, what is it, Albania and Kosovo and I don't know if it was Croatia. Would Croatia do that? Anyway, they're looking to try to attack Serbia at some point. They're waiting for an opportune time in the future when world chaos gets worse. And it's probably true, but you never know if that chaos is going to ever get that bad. So, what else? Let's keep going on these guys with their stuff here. Just get up there and you start picking off random people and all that. They even killed police officers back in the Maidan, but they were, making it look like it was the government doing it. Yanukovych, I guess. And then, but this with Hegseth coming out, I guess that you would call that phrase, we don't target civilians. In other words, that's projection, obviously. What else? And gaslighting. like I said, it's a big lie. Like Donald Trump, a perfect thing of gaslighting is Donald Trump and these people getting out and saying, Iran killed 32,000 of people in the protests and all that. And it's like, well, how does the U.S. know? They shut down, the internet was shut down, and there was some Starlinks there, a few of them, but they're not in contact with those people. And, Iran got most of them. That there was no proof or nothing. And it was, of course, they had Israeli Mossad all over the place. And it's just like, what was it originally in that October 7th? Remember that 2023? That Hamas came in. What did they say? They killed, I don't know, they didn't say, did they say 12,000? It was some really ridiculous number. 1,200 or I don't know. But I guess the real number, I think it was, if I can remember, 172. And nearly all of those people were killed by the IDF, the Israelis themselves. And of course, you get a big fine, you go to jail if you actually mention that. And of course, people have testified in court to that. But and the Israelis have said that. So many Israelis. It was coming out at the beginning, right after that happened. And then they hushed it all up big time. But these people were saying, yeah, it was the Israeli tanks were coming in. And of course, the order to stand down for like an hour and a half. And who was it? Matt Gaetz. I guess he works for Fox now. I'm not too sure. He said he's been there. He said, you cannot go anywhere on the border without every 15 meters, there's a soldier. And it's like, So it was all fake, and soldiers testified in court that they were told to stand down. And Israel waited a long time, and they were hoping to get a lot of people killed and all that. But then they sent in the Apache helicopters with incendiary things, and they were burning the Israelis. They were burning their own people and stuff, destroying. And all those cars burnt out. Some people were hiding in the cars, and they were all burned alive. Good job, Israel. Oh no, Hamas did it. 5 guys in hang gliders or something like that. That the Israelis even knew about that. They knew about it a year in advance. That's also been well documented. I tell you what, censorship covering up the real truth. How many people in Israel have reported all of that, what I just told you? Oh, it's not true. So anyway, what else? The favorite technique, I guess we got to try to remember this, and just so people know, of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, one of his favorite, and I guess it's called derailing. So derailing, calling your opponents like deranged or traitors, like he did with Marjorie Taylor Greene, or giving these weird names like Lion Ted, which Ted Cruz is a liar, Anyway, calling them weird names and stuff like that. So I guess that's called derailing. And then the few days ago, he went into what is called racial gaslighting. And these are well-known terms, I guess, like saying, like Donald Trump was saying that the Iranian people are genetically inferior or something. There wasn't this guy in 1930s and in Germany from the National Socialists, the NSDAP party, wasn't he saying something about that, about certain people and all that? Anyway. And then what is that? What is it when those people that old Adolf was talking about, they switch it around, and actually they're the ones that think they are superior. They're not only God's chosen, but they are, everybody else is inferior. Like the Palestinians, they call them like cockroaches, and they're not even human and things like. Gosh, what aren't you happy to be part of humanity with a whole bunch of people that talk this way and say these things? So. Yeah, a lot of people, they probably don't like it when I said, that U.S. bombed that elementary school on purpose, which they did on purpose. But listen to this. This is somebody, Tedros. And I'm thinking that he's not talking about what the United States did. This is because they didn't have a date on this. And I'm thinking that this is what Tedros was saying, because everybody is so disgusted by, the Israelis and how they love killing. They love to kill, especially children. I'm not saying anything to you that is not fact, and it's a friggin' fact. It's a very well-known fact. They've said it themselves. They love to kill children. So let's keep going. What did he say, Tedros? How many thousands of people have said exactly that, what I just told you? Because it's obvious. It's right in front of your face. It's like denying the obvious. What is that called? Cognitive dissonance, like denying the nose on your face. Oh, the sky is actually red, and it's not blue. You see it behind me. Anyway, but this guy, Tedros, what did he say? The director of the World Health Organization. He said bombing a hospital or a, doesn't it sound familiar if he was talking about, just a few years ago? Bombing a hospital or a school is not a miscalculation, especially when you use double tap. Killing a paramedic isn't collateral damage. Starving civilians, like what the U.S. is doing in Cuba, it isn't a negotiating tactic. These are war crimes, full stop. And yes, there are war crimes. Something tells me that nothing, absolutely nothing is going to be done to Israel or the United States with all their war crimes that they've been doing for decade after decade after decade, And when nobody can do anything, none of us can do anything except for complain and stomp our feet, they're going to keep on doing it, Oh, that's international law. That's the rules-based order that has never really worked. I don't know. One thing I like to do? I like to watch these 1950s science fiction movies, sometimes some battles and stuff, because I like to think, well, maybe the world actually worked back in those days and people did follow international laws and things. It makes you think, well, things were good. You watch some old Dean Martin movies or Bing Crosby and stuff like that. It makes you think, okay, well, things were actually really decent back then, and we had really real human beings walking the earth and in government, and now we have nothing but a bunch of demons. And some people say they really are, and they're descendants of the Nephilim or something like that. Some really interesting stuff. I don't know. I'm starting to believe in that stuff now. I'd be a conspiracy theorist if I'm not already one, huh? So you probably know about Zelensky trying to get involved in the Iran conflict. You guys have been hearing about that. He's going around. Everybody used to, get on their knees in front of Zelensky. I think that was a couple of years ago. Donald Trump, at least that's one good thing about him. He's not really sold on Zelensky. So, so he's sitting there going, I don't know why he's begging to, doesn't he need the drones? They're running out of ammunition. Why doesn't he use his drones himself? So he wants to make drones and things for, I don't know, he's trying to get a sweet deal, and I guess it's about money. He's even said that he wants a lot of money. And Israel is taking his offer. Isn't that strange? How many times do I compare the two of these governments, the two Nazi governments, the Zion Nazis with the Ukraine Nazis? Absolutely incredible. They're two peas in a pod. They do exactly the same thing. I have to actually say, though, that the Ukrainian Nazis, they don't kill anywhere near as many children as the Zion Nazis, but they like to kill innocent people as well. We don't target the civilians. That's what they do. Short-term pain for long-term gain. Remember that. Gosh. So, yeah, Israel is going for that. Donald Trump. Where was that quote? Didn't I write that down there? I think. Well, I know I have. I wrote it down somewhere, but just not here. He said something like the last person he's going to talk to, about getting help from is Zelensky, and he also put out that Putin is cooperating, trying to make peace, but Zelensky is not. So it's really, Donald Trump, sometimes he does say some jewels and some really good things, but I don't know, he discounts it by doing other crap. So he's probably going to, he's still sending a lot of money and he's sending help. I just told you that quote yesterday where he admitted that they give intelligence to Ukraine, and that's why he can't say anything, if Putin actually is given intelligence to Iran, because it's like what goes around comes around. Same thing with China. The United States sends all these weapons to Taiwan. So if China is sending some weapons to Iran, what are they going to do? Be hypocrites and say, you can't do that? We can do it, but you can't do that. These are two powerful countries, Russia and China. It's not just the United States. So at least Donald Trump has some kind of acknowledgement of that. It's too bad he's not acknowledging that Iran is not a bunch of wimps like he thought they were. I mean, Israel probably convinced him of that. Anyway, over time, and Jared Kushner and all of his propaganda buddies, hey, they use propaganda on Trump, his own buddies. So, yeah, anyway, obviously that's why the war is continuing. I did have it right here. Oh, and Iran said now Ukraine is a target. Ukraine is a target because they are giving drones to Israel, the enemy. So, you know, Russia should have actually acted like that beforehand because, but you know, when it was the United States, kind of a big country, and then you have the NATO countries flooding Ukraine with all these weapons, you know, and if old Putin would have used that logic, we'd probably have World War II right now. And that's one reason probably why, like what I told you yesterday. And that was actually big news, and the Russians are kind of ticked off about that. I don't know what's going to happen from that, but that, you know, France and Britain, you know, getting weapons to Ukraine to fire into Russian cities and kill civilians. I'm not sure how many civilians they killed in Bryansk, I forgot. I don't know if it was like 7 or 13 or something like that. That was a few days ago. So like I said, I don't know how many. But yeah, France and Great Britain are complicit in that, or maybe it's because they have been complicit all the time in these attacks. Great Britain has been doing a lot of attacks on the Black Sea and the Crimean Bridge, and they know that that's happening. So maybe that's, but you know, at the same time, Russia has destroyed like some bases inside of Ukraine with British and with French. I think they hit some building, remember, once, and that was about 2 and some years ago. And the medical people in Ukraine were looking for people that spoke French because they had so many people that were injured that didn't speak Russian or Ukrainian. So they were looking for French medical people. So, because France had a whole bunch of their people there, you know, and the British have done this stuff too. You know, remember when they hit that pizza parlor with, I think it was 101st Airborne, and that, you know, there was some videotape of that, probably not on the internet anymore. I'm sure it was taken down. A bunch of American soldiers, you know, running around frantic and all that with their 101st Airborne tattoos and their haircuts and speaking English and all that kind of crap. And, oh no, we don't have any soldiers in Ukraine. Yeah, so let's keep going. Okay, I've told you guys about that too. People in my unit were in Iraq long before Desert Storm started, so I only know the Desert Storm stuff. The other one, I think I was out of the military. I was not in the military in 2003 with the next war against Iraq. And I think, as you see right now, as the point comes up, because of all these wars that we had against Iraq, Iran is trying to make it so that there's not going to be another one. They're not going to just keep on doing this. So this is the second one now. Remember the 12-day war, and then they got this other one going. And, you know, Donald Trump wanted to end it fast. And, of course, he would be there again. He'd keep coming back for more and for more. You know, keep mowing the grass, as the West says. So, anyway, Iran is trying to get away from that, I guess. Twins, look at that. Oh, Kermit. Here comes another young couple here. They don't have the baby yet, but they will soon. I can tell you. I'll show it to you. Show them to you in a minute from behind. So, a little. They're getting to be that old. They're making babies is a lot more fun than going to war. Maybe somebody should tell that to Donald Trump. So that's what these guys are going to do. They're going to come with a thing maybe in about 9 months or something. They'll be coming by here. So let's keep going here. So UNESCO has put out that Trump. They said the United States. Did they say Trump? I think they said Trump. They said Trump, but I think you don't know if it's, well, obviously it's the U.S., and they don't know if it's Israel, and I highly suspect Israel just as much. But they said that they are hitting, this is UNESCO, you know, they're in charge of, you know, marking, you know, protected buildings and things like that. And they said Trump is bombing these purposefully. So they've destroyed quite a bit. Some of these things are 5,000 years old that Donald Trump has bombed and destroyed. You know, I remember back in the Iraq wars too, when they were bombing the ziggurats. And now if you can do, there's these big mounds. Let me rephrase that. These big mounds that they're out in the desert, and all of a sudden you see these great big mounds. These were at one point in time ziggurats. It's like pyramids, and you could probably do archaeological work in there and find a lot of things. But the U.S. was destroying even those in the Iraq War, so they were having a great old time, back then. U.S. is in heaven right now, and so is Israel, destroying the humanity's cultural past right now, ancient history. And remember back also in the Iraq War, when the United States took over Baghdad, the Israelis were going in and looting the museums, and the Americans were just sitting there, and smiling and looking at it and watching them coming out and loading up vans and things, all kinds of, cuneiform tablets, 5,000-year-old, 4,000-year-olds. As far as I know, maybe they stole the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the oldest epic poem, I guess, in world history. If you know that, that's when Gilgamesh was the king of ancient Ur. Well, they call it Ur in Germany. What is the, maybe it's different in English, but they call it Ur, U-R. And his buddy there, with some people, I said, believe that his friend, because this was so long ago, 4,000 years, I guess, before Jesus, birth of Jesus, and his buddy Enkidu, they believe was actually a Neanderthal. So they talk about Enkidu and how they, back in those days, Gilgamesh started irrigation to where then people didn't have to wander anymore and be nomadic. And then there's Upanishtim, who was also in there, and Ahura Mazda came to him and told him to build an ark and put some of these, two of each animals. Yeah, like I was telling you, this is 3,000 years before the Bible was written, or 4,000 years. But anyway, oh no, but that's all fake. But anyway, so Upanishtim, and then he sent out the birds and stuff like that. Seems like somebody else had said the same thing. I wonder who that was. But anyway, a lot of this is in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And some of this stuff sounds very much like what the Greeks borrowed too. Hades, and I think Charon giving him a couple coins, or was it, or some biscuits or something to lead you across the river Styx, to go. And that's how they found Upanishtim and talked to him, and learned a lot about that. There were some parts of the Epic of Gilgamesh missing, and I think they found maybe some other references to it in different places, so they put it together. But I think the original clay tablets, I believe they were in Baghdad. I don't know if they're stolen by the Israelis now, and now all of a sudden they're just not in existence anymore. Nobody ever knows what happened to them. That could be the case. I don't know. I'm just speculating, because that kind of stuff, as you all know, happens, like all the paintings and all of what happened with Zelensky, and they've taken out the icons from the ancient Christian churches and sending them all to, and they were auctioned off in Paris and France and all that. So, old Zelensky, look at how these people care about humanity and I don't know, I'm getting off on a tangent. Sorry about that, guys. It pisses me off because I majored in history. And I loved ancient history, but they didn't really have much of a program at the University of Washington. I took the next best thing, German history, and I specialized in just certain parts of it. So anyway, let's keep going. Stop getting me off on tangents. UNESCO, like I said, they're not very happy about that. So let's see, what else? Yesterday, Iran advised the United Arab Emirates to evacuate their seaports because they will be attacked in retaliation. What the heck? Yeah, oh, I'm missing a page. I'm jumping. Wait a minute. Let me get it here. Yeah, retaliation for what happened on Karg Island. The strikes, because they were launched from the United Arab Emirates. Apparently, the United States launched them. It wasn't. So what they're, telling, save your lives, evacuate whatever's valuable, get rid of it. And I don't know. I guess it was fired from, what did they call it? HIMARS. They were HIMARS, that the United States used to destroy that island. You heard Donald Trump bragging, and he says that he just said, I think again, was it today? He said they might bomb it again just for fun. They bombed the island. I don't know how many people they killed there. A lot of people, of course. And the people are stranded there. I don't know. And it's an island, like I said, and I've lived on islands, and people, you're dependent on mainland to get food and maybe even water. I don't know. He probably destroyed, if they needed a desalination plant. Very small island, very small. You could probably jog, well, it's not flat. I think I saw mountains. I saw a picture of it, but you could probably jog across it in 1 hour from the long end to the other long end. Crosswise, you could probably do it in 20 minutes or something, because it's a lengthwise island. If you see a picture, they bombed another island or two, and some of those islands are really beautiful there. I've heard that people, are making, palm trees and nice beaches and things like that. But anyway, the United States bombing them. So that's the good old United States. Yeah, don't it make you proud to be an American? Okay. Interesting statement from Iran's parliamentary speaker. But he's talking, I think, in reference to what happened on Karg Island. See, he said, anyone clothed by the U.S. is literally naked. American bases in our region don't protect anyone. They are a threat. And I think what he's getting at is they are a threat to these countries as well, not just to Iran. And of course, the whole purpose of the United States putting all these military bases there is to threaten and to eventually use to attack Iran. That is exactly what their purpose was. But apparently they did not think that Iran would be getting the power that they do have. And Iran knew exactly what they needed to do. They said, and how many times did they say they studied the United States, watching all of their wars for all of these years, because they knew that the United States was going to be coming after them. The reason why they put all those things. So they started making missiles and missiles and missiles, and then the invention of these drones and things, and they perfected the drones. I'll talk a little bit more about drones in a minute here. So, okay, this is what I was telling you about Vučić, the president of Serbia. And of course, the United States as well, especially the European Union, they really want to overthrow Serbia. Serbia is a big one for them. Like I said, one of the chief think tank people for NATO, his name is Gunter Fehlinger from Austria. He's an economist, but he's not an Austrian economist. That's a different thing. But he comes from Austria, and I think the most hated country for him is Belarus, partly because of Lukashenko, this cool, our president here, and because they're trying to overthrow and kill him and overthrow the government here, take control of Belarus. They haven't been able to do it. That's why Lukashenko is cool, baby. We got the greatest leader, I think. I like Robert Fico too, but in a lot of ways, Lukashenko is absolutely an incredible guy. And this is an incredible country. I can tell you that in so many different ways. No resources, not even a seaport. We have a little bit of fertilizer, and some nice fresh water in a lot of places, but yet the country still thrives, and one of his biggest things is stability. And one thing that's the opposite of stability is wars. So he hates wars, and he'd do anything to prevent a war. That's why we've got now, made good friends with Russia. We got tactical nuclear weapons here. We got Orishniks here. And Zelensky keeps trying, I could mention that yesterday. He keeps telling everybody, we got to attack Belarus. We got to bomb Belarus. Come on, everybody, let's go get Belarus. Let's bomb them. And it's like, oh, why? Why the heck do they want to do that? It's because he's friends with Russia. So friggin' what? Belarus is not involved in the war in Ukraine. I guess Zelensky's trying to get it in there. I don't know. I don't know what his logic is. But Belarus doesn't have a big military either. I think it's like 60,000. Might be 70,000. I think they might have gotten a little bit bigger. It's normally been like the old size of Poland, but Poland now has got a couple 100,000 because they're building up because they want to attack Belarus, like the Baltics. And that is honest to God truth, But that's why Lukashenko got these big, powerful missiles now. Okay, let's keep going. What am I going off on these things? But okay, Gunter Fehlinger, he hates Belarus. That's his number one hated country. And number two, I think he said, was Serbia. So that's what it's all about. But Gunter Fehlinger obviously probably hates Russia more. He's the same guy that envisioned splitting up Russia into 40 different countries. You can look him up, seriously, look him up, and you can see all of the countries that he wanted to to split Russia up into, and it might even be 41. Maybe it depends on what you're looking at. And he even has the flags. He has all the borders lined out, and he even has the flags. He decided some look like the American flag. It's absolutely incredible. And so he's like sitting there, and that's his big project of his whole life, is to, envision but what they're going to do with Russia when they start taking over. Bunch of crazy suckers in the European Union. Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. There was a video going around. It's in Russia. I don't know. It's going viral, but it's a fake video, and it says that Iran attacked Citibank in Dubai. If you guys see that, Citibank says that's not true. There has been no attacks on any of their banking outlets anywhere anywhere in the world. And some people say that it might be AI. Matter of fact, I even saw something say that AI generated. So that might be actually true. And then some people say maybe it's from some footage from something else. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just going to go with that, because Iran, I don't think they did do that. But the United States, let me tell you this. Let's get into that one. Well, I'll get into that. I think I wrote it on the next page here. But remember what I was telling you about the drones. Drone strikes. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is it. I did write it. I did write it right here. So Iran says that there are copies of their drones. I saw a video. I don't know if Iran saw this, but I believe it was Brad Cooper, and I think he's an admiral. And he was bragging that they copied identically the Iranian drones, the Shahed. What is it called? The Shahed drone. And the Americans, they called their drone the Lucas. And it looks identical, sounds identical. They said they copied it and they improved on it. So what they are doing, and it's apparently what they're doing, and that was this attack I was telling you guys about on Azerbaijan, as well as, I'm a little bit cold when the wind blows, Azerbaijan, and it actually worked. I think he believes that Iran sent drone into Azerbaijan. And the United States, it has been attacking oil facilities in Saudi Arabia with these drones, these Lucas drones. I don't think the Saudis have bought it, or at least they're at least holding back a little bit. And of course, they're a very powerful country. They got a big air force, and obviously, Iran would be completely stupid to bomb that Arabian things in Saudi Arabia. Now, it's different when they're bombing American assets within Saudi Arabia, which they have, but they did not attack any oil storage. No, that was the Aramco. I don't know if it was a storage, or was that a refinery? I don't know, which was like the biggest in Saudi Arabia. And apparently it was the Americans doing it. I don't know if Saudi Arabia is going to acknowledge that. I would hope that they would put two and two together and realize that the United States did that, trying to draw them into the war. It's very much like the USS Liberty when Israel was trying to draw the United States into the war against Egypt. I mean, these false flags, it's absolutely incredible. And it seems so primitive, like everybody should be able to figure this stuff out right now. I mean, that's why you have to do something called an investigation instead of just, hey, it was Iran, A lot of times things seem obvious. Benjamin Netanyahu, as you know, the Mossad, that is their motto. By way of deception, thou shalt do war. So that's what the Mossad does. And it's maybe the Mossad did it. Maybe they got the drone from the United States, said, hey, let's do this and all, make it look like Iran did it. So, we can all, gang rape Iran or whatever. Okay. So let's see. So they make copies. They even showed pictures of it. I saw a video. Saw a video say, yeah, we copied it and made improvements. And that's maybe one reason why Donald Trump says, when Zelensky's sitting there thinking that he's going to sell drones to the United States, I think it's pretty obvious that Zelensky, the guy's a loser. Let's just put it that way. Zelensky is a friggin' loser. And his drones are not anything close probably to even the United States. and then he thinks he's going to make some money by selling these drones when he actually needs them. So it's like saying, oh yeah, we have to defend our country against Russia, but yet we're going to send all of our drones somewhere else. They got soldiers already all over in North Africa. They're actually attacking Russians as well as like other in the Sahel. They're attacking a lot of these countries, Niger and Burkina Faso or something. So they're doing a lot of this nasty stuff even in Africa. Well, why don't they send their soldiers back home if, and instead they're drafting people. Well, there's something about the draft too, mobilization and Zelensky. I'll get into that in just a minute. Yeah, okay. So Yemen says they may shut the strategic water choke point called the Bab al-Mandab Strait. It's just very much like the Strait of Hormuz, and it's on the other side of the Saudi peninsula. So that would be like the entire peninsula would not, I mean, you'd have to, you can still access the sea from the peninsula, but not through these straits anymore. And I guess 20% of the world's trade, period, goes through that strait. So I'll tell you what, Israel would be really badly shut off when that one is shut. So, and that's when Yemen was already, and they haven't done it. They said they may do it. I don't know. Maybe they've lost a lot already, a lot of power because they've been bombed, extensively. Remember the United States bombing him and bombing him and bombing him, and maybe they sent some of their assets to help Iran. I have no idea. But they might do it. So also, the U.S. told all U.S. citizens to evacuate Iraq. Oh, some big news actually. Because the Iraqi rebels, I guess somebody hit the embassy there, and they're hitting other things. They hit American base. Maybe they're going to evacuate the American soldiers too. So it was a base. It was a direct hit on fire. Wow, 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 wow. It's a huge fire. It was not even a great video. They got the 1/3 of the video was they're showing part of a wall, but they showed, you can see that it's really burning. So they really hit that one hard, these rebels. George Galloway, he said that this Epstein Fury, that's what they called this, Operation Epstein Fury. That's the real name. That's the real name for the United States. It's like, what is it? Maybe Roaring, Israelis should call it Roaring Epstein. What do they call it? The Roaring Lion or something? I don't know. Lion's Roar. Epstein's Roar. Epstein's Roar and Epstein's Whore. No, I didn't say whore. I said roar. Epstein's Roar. And George Galloway, his Epstein Fury, he's saying it is the biggest blunder since the idol of Netanyahu and Zelensky, Adolf from Germany back in those days, the big idol of these two guys, conducted Operation Barbarossa, and I've been to this place. You can't even forget the date, for me. June 22nd, 1941, when General Guderian at 4 o'clock in the morning invaded the Soviet Union. And that actually led to the total defeat of Germany, of Nazi Germany. And so George Galloway, I guess, is equating the United States Epstein's Fury, the war against Iran, as big of a blunder as old Adolf's blunder against the Soviet Union, which he had to, well, actually, he was dead, I think, that time, wasn't he? But anyway, the Nazis had to surrender to the Soviet army. And don't believe this crap that Donald Trump tells you. Yes, there's a name for that one too, when you change history. Matter of fact, I think they just call that changing history in propaganda, like Donald Trump is trying to do. He's trying to say the United States, and of course we're told that in the United States. We're told that the United States defeated the Nazi Germany, when the truth is, according to this one guy that was president called Roosevelt, and this one guy who was the Prime Minister of England called Winston Churchill, they said that it was the Soviet Union that defeated the Nazis. And the Soviet Union was who the Nazis surrendered to. So they did not surrender to the United States. They did not surrender to the British. They surrendered to the Soviet Union. So that is something that we are lied to in our history books in the United States. So the fact of the matter is, the Soviet Union is who defeated Nazi Germany. Maybe that's why they're so pissed off right now in the United States and in Germany. You know, they're stomping and all that, and that's why they want to get Russia, because they're the heirs to the Soviet Union, the Russian government, as we say, and Belarusian too. And they're changing history. They really are. You ought to listen to what they're saying, even in the Baltic states. I'm not talking about only Maya Sandu, the leader of Moldova, that said that the liberators were the Nazis. The bad guys were the Soviets, and the liberators were the Nazis. That's what they're saying. Oh, listen to that. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Wow. Katusha. Okay. Katusha. I don't know the words, sorry. Maybe that's what, Katusha? I think that's the name. Anyway, let's see. Trump is now, it was so easy. He said it's easier than we thought. That's why he's begging other countries. And Donald Trump really is. He's begging other countries to help him with Hormuz. He put out a couple of tweets. You got to go look for his tweets. And, you know, he's basically, we're winning by far, the greatest in all of history. Me, Donald Trump, doing it alone. Anyway, and now he even begged Japan. Japan, where in the heck is Japan's way in the heck over there? And I think he wants, he named a bunch of countries that he wants to help him to take over the Strait of Hormuz because they're scared. He doesn't want to say that they're cowardly and they're scared, the most powerful military on earth, and yet they can't get this little teeny area on the globe. You know, so that's one reason why they bombed and flattened Karg, is because they probably want to use that. But even people are saying, military strategists, they said that's not going to happen either. When you start putting people on there, they're going to be bombarded like there's nothing that you've ever believed before. The Iranians, they're probably holding a lot of their missiles and drones and things. They're waiting for the United States for that. And a matter of fact, that's exactly what the foreign minister of Iran said when they're talking about boots on the ground. Arangachi said, yes, we're waiting for them. So, but wait a minute, Donald Trump, you know what he just said? Another one of his tweets. Did I write it here? Yeah, okay, I'll get right to that now. So he's begging other countries, and he said that they have militarily, economically, and every other way 100% destroyed the Iranian military. Well, why in the heck is he afraid to, why is he asking everybody to go? You gotta see, I mean, you just gotta listen to what Donald Trump says. I think it's maybe even in the same tweet. I don't know, but you maybe put a couple tweets together. We 100% destroyed everything about their military. Oh, come on, can you guys come and help us? Hegseth and Trump. I mean, maybe they're a comedy team like Martin and Lewis. I don't know, like Dumb and Dumber. I don't know, Martin and Lewis. So we 100% of their military, militarily, economically, and every other way. That was Donald Trump's words. And so what about, why are you afraid to put the boots on the ground? Why are you trying to get the Kurds to do it for you? If you're so powerful, the most powerful military in the galaxy, so how come you can't do it? Why are you trying to get the Kurds to go and spend their blood to do that? And the Iranians, you know, the Israelis, they're sitting there hiding over there. They, you know, the sirens go off and they go start running for their bunkers and stuff like that. Anyway, but no, they're brave. Lions roar. And you see the Iranians, when the bombs are dropping, you see smoke and they're out there cheering. They're going like this. They're not running for any bomb shelters or not. I'm thinking they're crazy. I think they're crazy. But they don't even go to bomb shelters. They're just sitting out there shaking their fists, you know. But yet they're cowards. They go to their caves. Wait a minute, isn't that the Israelis? Oh gosh. Projection. Okay. So let's see, what else? Yeah, the cakewalk. I was going to say, yeah, Trump even asked Japan. Yeah, that's amazing. So today, Zelensky said he will change the mobilization law to send Ukrainian members of parliament to the front if they fail to vote on important legislation. And all this stuff is Zelensky just trying to take over as a dictator. I mean, he's already a dictator. That's why he stopped the vote. There is no vote anymore. And of course, he's got the British and he's got the Nazis to help him as well. I mean, anybody who challenges him, they're going to... So that's why he's already a dictator. Now get this one here. This is pretty good. Belgium's prime minister, guess what he just said? He came out and said something, since we are unable, listen to this quote, this is amazing. I mean, he's said some good things before, so there's actually a few leaders in Europe that do have working brains, that they're probably, you know, I mean, they're even good working brains. I mean, you can forget like these Ursula von der Leyen and things like that. I tell you what, she's probably the one that, when she was Minister of Defense in Germany, she is the one that destroyed the military in Germany. There is no doubt about that. She gets up there and she can talk very encouragingly, and that's it. But her decisions, she is a real, I don't know. I don't like to call people idiots, but she's not that intelligent. Okay, the idiocracy of the EU. Okay, but listen to this guy. Did I write his name? De Web. No, it's De Web. Oh, I didn't even write his name. Anyway, the Prime Minister of Belgium. Since we are unable to threaten Putin by sending weapons to Ukraine, and we cannot choke him economically without U.S. support, there is only one method left, making a deal. You know, but yet they're defiant and they're saying we don't need any oil, we don't need any gas. We can just keep robbing the pockets of our citizens, making them pay more and more and more, and buying that gas from the United States and Qatar. The gas coming from Qatar is now shut off at the moment. I don't know. And people said that's going to be a real catastrophe if the Strait of Hormuz, well, it is open. It actually is open. And Iran said it's open, but they are not letting enemy ships go through, but they are letting ships that are not involved in attacking Iran, all of those ships get to go through. I don't know about the European ones, so I'm not exactly sure what is going on there. Maybe I don't know, maybe some of these ships, maybe it depends on how they're flagged. If they're flagged US ships and they're bringing oil to Europe, maybe they're not allowed to get through. I don't know. Anyway, people, that's about all I have to say. Again, over an hour. Happens every time. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.